Hi, this is Jeff Stone of Grandpa's Pride Barbecue from the Panhandle of Florida, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, greetings and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast, a.k.a. Bomb City, USA. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to greg@bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter. Coming up in about 13 minutes from now, she was on towards the end of last year for the first time. What I call the official or officially unofficial legal counsel as it relates to trademarks and copyrights for the Barbecue Central Show. The founder and CEO and creator of the Moskowitz firm, Suzanne Moskowitz, will rejoin us. Last time we talked heavy on the trademark stuff. I had revealed to all of you that the first part of 2021, actually it was the end of 2020, literally days, as it was literally rapidly coming to it. It was rapidly coming to a close, 2020. And I got in before the trademark price increase that was like $650 or whatever it was. And then all through last year, waiting for holdouts, waiting for approvals, waiting for hurdles to get cleared, and we got there. I just don't have that official paperwork yet, but according to Suzanne, all T's and I's have been summarily dotted and or crossed, and we're good to go there. But we talked a lot about trademarking and what does it mean and how does it protect you and why would you want to look into trademarking and the associated costs, things like this. But there's another side that I had mentioned that she covers as well, that being copyright. So this time around, we'll go copyright heavy. So if you have questions about copyrights, if you've ever been in trouble because you have infringed on somebody's copyright or you've been sent a nasty grab saying, hey, you used my picture without asking me even, take it down or I'll sue you, cease and desists. If you have a podcast like I do, should we be copywriting every single episode? We're going to get into all of that stuff from a legalese standpoint. And you will be further educated via a Stanford graduate. Is Cornell in there too? She's got quite the academic background. Suzanne Moskowitz will be first up this evening. Then we will go to 35 past the first hour. And the fourth Tuesday of the month in the first hour is what? Derek Riches. That's right. I waited. Somebody said it. I heard you in the peanut gallery. So Derek will join us for his monthly segment. We missed him last month at the close of the year, so we'll get a quick recap on how the end of the year treated him, and then we'll get heavy into the Weber Grill talk. We had the new grill master from Weber Grills, Dustin Green, on last week to talk about their side of it. We'll get Derek's take and his side of it from a journalistic standpoint. We'll also talk about thermostatically controlled grills, things of this nature. So very much looking forward to talking with Derek and getting his take on all of that. And then second hour, of course, on the fourth Tuesday of the month, brings the visit from the three gents from Utah, Michigan, and Texas, the Embedded Correspondence segment. Yes. We have a fresh batch of 100% Assurity picks that we'll get through. So if you want to join me on Clubhouse like we have over the last couple months and take part in that portion of the show with us, more than happy to have you doing that, but you have to be on Clubhouse in order to do that. So go ahead and download it on your phone or Club Deck on your computer if you want, and then find the show, take part, and we'll get into all of that here in a few minutes. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and the Snappers at BBQ Central Show. For live video feed, you can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show, also on YouTube/RD Rempe. And as I just mentioned, for an audio version of this only with no video, which I highly encourage, you can download the Clubhouse app and check us out there as well. So let's start here tonight. You know, Weber dominated the comments over the course of the week, stemming from Dustin Green's visit and then from what happened later last week. I'll get into Dustin's comments that sent a lot of you over the edge immediately after he said it. I actually have the soundbite that sent you over the edge. So if you were teetering, be wary of what's happening top of the second, because I might send you over that edge by playing it again. But many of you were heightened enough to send me comments, and I'll get to those in the top of the second hour. But I have to get to the event that took over the entire live fire news cycle for at least 48 hours at the close of last week. And I cannot believe that it did. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the singer Meatloaf passed away last Thursday. Well, prior to most folks learning of his ultimate demise, Weber, which was Thursday, Weber on Friday morning, early Friday morning, sent out an email blast or newsletter blast or whatever it is. This is something that you probably have to subscribe to in order to get it. I didn't get it personally, so I would imagine you would have to put an email address somewhere, and then you get these great recipes that Weber deems to share out through their signups. And it detailed out a recipe for grilled meatloaf. Now, many of you are like me, wondering what the big deal is, right? Grilled meatloaf, Meatloaf the singer dies. How are these two things related? And how does this make any news at all? I'll tell you how it makes news. Weber thinks the recipe they sent might offend someone who now has both the meatloaf recipe and has also just learned of the death of the singer Meatloaf. To get ahead of that, they blast out an apology newsletter following up that recipe email from earlier in the day, apologizing for the grilled meatloaf recipe. And a portion of that reads, quote, "At the time we shared this recipe with you, we were not aware of the unfortunate passing of American singer and actor Mr. Marvin Lee Aday, also known as Meatloaf. We want to express our deepest apologies for this oversight and for any offense this email may have caused," close quote. Now, look, I'm not a PR expert here, but I'm telling you right now, this would have not been a blip on the radar had Weber just stayed down. Had they not sent the follow-up email telling people how to connect the dots to then become offended, none of this would have ever happened. However, the apology is sent, people see it everywhere, and the next day you see Google alerts, if you use Google alerts for things like barbecue or BBQ or grilling, popping like crazy, with news outlets across the country reporting how Weber had to make an apology for sending out their meatloaf recipe because someone named Meatloaf had life happen to him. Weber, next time, call your boy and let me counsel you. Yes, some things require an apology, like when you go out of your way to be an offensive human, or you're insulting someone or a group of people specifically. You know, like when Meathead said women don't know how to operate gas grills. That's offensive. Just kidding, Meathead. This was not that. This was coincidence that you sent out a delicious recipe, and a little later, a guy who had 2 hit songs that sucked, by the way, back in the 70s, died. And his name wasn't really even Meatloaf. So no apology needed. However, I did have a quick huddle with my guy, Sean Walchef, Digital Hospitality, and the host of the Restaurant Influencers podcast. And he told me, this is exactly why you don't schedule your social media in advance. You don't use the automation. Seems easy, seems efficient, seems like best practice at that time. And then you run into something like this. So if we've learned anything over these last few moments, it's doing your social posting in real time so you can avoid these things from happening in the future. But even still, you send something out in the morning in real time, someone dies later that night. Is that still an issue? In this instance, again, coincidence. And that's it. Keep moving. Don't need to apologize. Right, Suzanne Moskowitz is in the green room. She's ready to go. And before we get to her, I will talk to you quickly about Yoder Smokers, designing and building their products right here in the States and building pride through craftsmanship. Their world-class customer service is the backbone of how they've built the company. This approach translates into what can be a truly bespoke style product that elevates gatherings with friends and family. They're honored to have a trusted place in the backyards of America. From pellet grills to wood-fired offsets and charcoal grills, consistent blue ribbon flavor has become synonymous with the Yoder Smokers name. Make no mistake, Yoder Smokers' flavor-driven design is unique to each style of pit, and their team has developed their cookers to perform time and time again while outlasting the competition for generations to come. It's this generational thought that's rooted in their handmade products and defines the integrity of the core values. American-made quality and endless flavor. The benchmarks of Yoder Smokers. Visit yodersmokers.com to grab yours today. In fact, I counseled my friend at the Howard Stern Show, Jason Kaplan, to look at a Yoder. He's in the market. I said, Jason, you need to get over to yodersmokers.com and check out that Y640. It's great. 480 is good. 640, a little bigger, better, especially in the barbecue world. So we'll see what happens with that. But you should be checking out Yoder Smokers as well. We'll talk a little copyright coming up out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans, and accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call them 800-288-GURU. Barbecue Guru continuing to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. My first guest tonight is helping individuals and companies protect what they have worked so hard to create through the use of trademarks and copyrights, licensing, and a few other services. She was on the show for the first time at the end of the year, and it was to rave reviews. In fact, a few of you touched base with her to help you protect some things that you have going on as well. So that's a good thing. Last time we talked, it was about trademarks, as I had mentioned in the open, but this time we'll get hot and heavy on copyright stuff. So we race to the hotline and welcome back the owner of the Moskowitz firm, Suzanne Moskowitz. Hey, Suzanne.
Hey, Greg. How are you?
I am fine and appreciate you making time for the show and coming back on here as we
Always
are fleeting through 2022 here as end of January hits us. Before we get going this evening, can we get a brief refresher on what trademark is and then what copyright is, and then we'll dive into the copyright?
Absolutely. And I will try not to be too academic. I also have to always start with my CYA. As you know, Greg, I'm a lawyer, but this is not legal advice without an actual engagement. So I'm providing this for informational purposes only.
That's right.
So
entertainment. We love it.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to entertain you with some musings on
Indeed.
protecting intellectual property. So last time we talked a lot about trademarks. We talked generally too. And we got into how it could be for a brand, which could be articulated as the words Barbecue Central, or it could be a logo, like the logo for your show. Now, Greg knows that I have a special something I'm holding in this envelope that I've held hostage a bit. I thought I'd see him in person, and I haven't had the chance to yet. And that is actually a registered. It's okay if I show it?
Yes, please.
It's all public record. I mean, I could show it even without you asking. Ta-da!
Look at that.
It is a registration certificate for the Barbecue Central show. What a coincidence
Man,
that I
great
happen
timing.
to handle this.
No doubt.
And as you'll see, and this is actually going to be pertinent to our conversations here, this is a logo. Logos look artistic, but are they artistic enough to be eligible for copyright protection as a work of art? I'll get to that. But for now, this is a brand, and it designates it the source, and the source being this wonderful show and its associated entertainment services and downloadables and things like that. So that's a brand. Then there's the concept of copyrights. Copyrights are for works of authorship, and that could be lots of things. It could be a photograph, it could be software code, it could be a full book, it could be a painting. And we talk about copyright a lot with brand owners because they're thinking about things like their packaging and their website design and using photos and getting permissions and all that.
Suzanne? I know everybody's in, like, oh, I'm writing down the number. By the way, before she jumps back on so I can give it to you, I forgot to give it to you at the top. The website is Keep TM, Tango Mike TM, like trademark, keeptm.com. That's the quickest way to get to her website. If you like all the other big words, the MoskowitzFirm.com is also the website. Keeptm.com will actually redirect you to the MoskowitzFirm.com, but that's the easy way to get there. So visit that while we're talking. And she's back. Hello, welcome back.
Yeah, so I heard myself talking, and it seemed a little odd, and I wasn't sure if you heard me. So
I saw the shot of a floor,
live,
though, I think.
Live TV, guys.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so we good?
We're good.
We heard a little bit about the difference between a copyright and a trademark, and I wanted to show you a little bit about what it takes to be artistic enough to be copyrightable.
All right.
It's really easy if we're talking about a photograph, if we're talking about a full book. Then we get into some kind of ambiguous things like, is this artistic enough? Is it?
I paid money for it.
Well, that I'm so glad you mentioned that. And even something that you paid money for that was hand-drawn, isn't standard fonts, this would be rejected.
Oh, no.
Most likely. Most likely.
All right.
As a copyright because it's not artistic enough. So then let's look at some other examples, shall we? I brought some visual aids. Okay, so I got some chips here. Okay, so Lay's has a logo. You see it.
Yep.
It's got some colors and some shapes. Would a logo that has some colors and some shapes be enough to be artistic enough to be a work of art, to be a copyright? Answer, maybe, because it's got colors and shapes, but they're kind of standard colors and shapes. It's not that creative, believe it or not. But what if we talk about the whole package of this bag? We've got, whether they're probably photos, probably not drawings, of chips and sauces and all these kind of things. You put this all together, my friends,
yes,
and you could get a copyright protection for this whole package. Does that mean that you could keep another chip maker from having a bag this shape and size that has a picture of chips and possibly a picture of the sauce or seasoning? That is an interesting question we can talk about. How close does something have to be infringing?
Because you could have a picture of sauce, but not that sauce. You could have a picture of chips, but not those chips, and you could have a different color of that gray, and like all things to skirt around, right?
Yeah, and so you see this kind of thing all the time. Things that like, hey, doesn't that kind of look, especially when you get into like, you know, packages of artificial sweetener and they all kind of look the same, you know?
Yeah.
So there's this standard of, you know, what is infringing, and we can get into that in more detail. But just to continue my example of the spectrum here from your logo, which I would say is great as a brand, it's a trademark, but is it a work of art? according to the Copyright Office, probably not. But here's something.
My
Look
favorite
at this
hot sauce.
Look at this lovely lady.
Yes, Cholula.
She is art. And so maybe the word Cholula is not art, but she, when put together with the package, is clearly art. She is good enough. So there's your brief overview about what is good enough to be a copyright. Although certainly a photo, a whole book, a whole set of code, all that easily is copyright.
Now, we could call you and say, hey, Suzanne, I have this logo. I heard you on the Barbecue Central show. I'm on the fence, but I'm willing to risk it. And then you would just, take whatever associated fees and then submit it and see what happens.
Well, first of all, I try not to file things that I think are dead in the water. I try to give, an honest assessment. But the nice thing about a copyright application is it's a lot less expensive than a trademark. A trademark will for filing government fees starts you at $250. Some copyrights can be as low as $45. Typical copyright I file, the government fee is $65. And then you wait, and the examination is not as complicated as trademark examination. They're not literally going and looking with trademarks, they're looking for other trademarks that are like yours. With copyright, they're really just looking that you check the boxes. But here's the thing, folks. If you do a copyright application quickly and with errors, and then you want to use that copyright application to say, hey, somebody copied my photograph. Well, the first thing the lawyer on the other side, who could be me, is going to do is look up that application and see if there were errors in it. Because if there were errors in it, it may not be valid.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's a pretty simple process. Just like trademarks, you don't have to hire a lawyer, but it can be helpful.
No doubt. So talking about trademarks, we did a lot of talking about trademarking stuff last time you were on. So in the world of copyrights, the thing that I see or a scenario I would like to paint for you is this. I am going to make a post on Instagram about a cheeseburger. So I go to Google Images. I search cheeseburger. I find one that's very attractive to me. I download it, put it in my Instagram feed, write a witty post, and ultimately I get 500,000 likes. But within the post, nary a mention of this picture, where I got it, any credit, nothing. In how many ways am I being a wrong human?
Well, let's start with the baseline here is if you're taking a picture that you don't have permission to take, you're technically an infringer. But rest assured, there are many exceptions, although I'm not going to tell you to rely on these exceptions because it's all gray area. So this is all the idea of, is this fair use? And so somebody like Greg would call me and say, this is what I want to do. I want to use this picture. Is it safe? I'm never going to say it's safe. Let me start by saying I'm never going to say it's safe unless you took the picture. Even if somebody that works for you took the picture, unless they're your employee doing it in the scope of work, if they're a contractor and you don't have a written agreement, even if it seemed implicit from the arrangement that they were taking the picture for you, doesn't matter. You need to have that official transfer of ownership to you for it to not be infringement. So again, you're an infringer. Let's start with that. Now can we find an exception? So lots of myths out there about what the exceptions are. One is that if you only use a little bit of something, or like if it's an audio clip, you only use 5 seconds or 30 seconds, or if it's a song, you only use, just the part of the beat. None of those things are really true. Also, you are here entertaining and educating people. That is a notable thing. You also have advertisers, and that puts you into the class of commercial use. Now, it's not a binary, commercial or non-commercial. It's kind of how commercial are you? This is not this, you putting it on your site is not the same as Traeger putting it on their site.
Yeah. Because
you are in the business of, you are still doing something that has some public benefit. Another myth is, you mentioned the thing about not giving credit. It's nice to give credit. It's certainly the right thing to do, but credit is not going to get you out of infringement. Now, credit is probably going to be something that if you actually make an agreement with somebody, they're going to probably say, yes, you're allowed to, and you have to give me credit. Another myth, this is a new one that's coming up a lot, which is let's say somebody uses the hashtag that you use for your show and they have a picture, or, let's say that you're a commercial product. You're the cheeseburger company. Okay. And somebody hashtags cheeseburger company. You think, oh, well, that means they've given me permission to then take that picture and put it on my feed. That's just not true. You still need to get permission, and you can do it in an informal way. A lot of companies have programs now where they kind of comment on your feed. They say, I like that. Can we use it? Follow this link. That's the best practice here. Now, going back to you're an infringer. It's too late. You've already done it. How much trouble are you in, right? You want to know?
Sure.
You're probably going to jail. No, you're probably not going to jail. You're probably not going to jail.
Oh my God. I was like, whoa. There's a lot of people getting ready to go to jail.
No, you're probably not. And the answer to that relates to whether or not the thing that you copied was copyright registered. So you don't have to register something at the U.S. Copyright Office to have copyright rights. Okay. And most works that are copyrightable are not actually copyrighted. So your podcast episodes, for example, somebody may take a clip from your podcast episodes and you may decide that it has exceeded fair use, that they have basically replaced you as the source of your own product. And now they've sliced and diced it and they're not listening to the commercials and they've cut into your revenue and you want to go after them. Well, if you have a copyright registration, good news. You're automatically entitled to get it into federal court. You're automatically entitled to attorney's fees. You're automatically entitled to what's called statutory damages, which means, $750,000 to $30,000 or maybe $150,000 if it was really nasty, willful infringement. But most people don't really register. They just hope that nobody copies them. And then they can still rely on some remedies in state and sometimes federal court if you register it later. But if you register it after the infringement happens, your remedies are going to be very limited, probably to what's called an injunction, which means stop it. And the cost of getting that injunction is certainly going to exceed, or not certainly, but in many, or I would say most cases, the guy with the hamburger picture, if it has not been registered, is probably not going to find it worth it to go after you. But I should say there are people putting stock footage on the internet as a sort of a honey trap.
Oh,
that's a thing now. Wallpaper, things that look like they are free. They might even use the word free on their website, but then there's fine print. Or there's fine print and the fine print changes. And what ends up happening is they are not just photographers, but they are in cahoots with these image rights organizations that are now sending out letters nonstop. Now, I don't know, Greg, if you've ever gotten one of those letters, but lots of my clients, good people, get those letters all the time. And you can't just ignore those letters because, like I said, the first step is you are an infringer. The question is, how severe is it? And are they really entitled? Because sometimes these letters make threats that are not accurate in terms of the rights because they don't actually have a copyright registration.
So some folks that I know are fiercely protective of their pictures or recipes that they would post. Others seem to think that any publicity is good publicity and don't seem to chase as hard when they find or someone tells them, oh, hey, so-and-so's taking your stuff, go check their account. Is one person more right than the other, or does ultimately it come down to if you haven't, as you kind of mentioned, if you haven't copyrighted your picture or your recipe, be as angry as you want, be as nasty as you want in DM, but don't expect a lot of resolution otherwise?
Yeah, I would say, I think I said this when we were talking about trademarks too, that, if you want to send a letter, that's absolutely fine. But this day and age, you should just assume that letter will be posted on the internet and that if you sound like a jerk in that letter, then the rest of the public will know that you're a jerk. And so it is good to try to deal with these things in a low-key way, making a phone call, not making a threat, asking nicely. But yes, so much of this, it's amazing that companies don't just take the good publicity and be happy that people are promoting their things. But that's just how it goes these days. But I think a lot of that is driven by kind of a new industry of profiting from image rights. You mentioned cookbooks and recipes, and I do want to make sure that I kind of address that, because that's becoming more of an issue. There's been some great articles about that lately. And in a nutshell, very hard to protect a recipe. The reason it's hard to protect a recipe is because it's factual. Like if you have a phone book, phone books are not copyrightable because they're a collection of facts. So the more creative something is, the more copyrightable it is. So you may notice that nowadays, when you go online for a recipe, you're going to see 2 pages of text before the recipe, and photos and the grandma's story. Well, all of that is partly because they're building a narrative that this is actually a copyrightable work. Because the recipe itself, the ingredients, not so copyrightable. And there's been a few cases lately of people just changing a few ingredients, and there's really no case against them.
Did you see that Jamie Oliver is putting together a group of folks as he's getting ready to do another cookbook or something along these lines, to where everything is being reevaluated? I forget exactly what the term is, but it's a team of people that will look at the recipe and the story that goes along with it, or potentially where it came from, in order to not be offensive to some people. Like, can you believe, like, is this just where we're at in the day and age, or what?
The only offensive recipes are from meatloaf, right? I mean,
currently.
Yeah.
By the way, Suzanne,
so,
that was too soon, but you'll probably be hearing from,
yeah, I'm sorry.
You can issue an apology in 5 minutes.
You're the one who said the songs weren't good. I didn't say that.
The worst.
You're the one who's going to get the hate mail.
Fine, bring it on. Those are the 2 worst songs ever. Agreed?
No comment?
Yeah, then okay.
Too soon.
But that's a yes.
Ask me next time.
Okay. Too much time will have passed at that point. Anything else we want to know copyright-wise in the next 30 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, just also being careful about if you're somebody who hires a celebrity or a grill celebrity, somebody to do endorsements for you. The Federal Trade Commission's really cracking down on these endorsements. If somebody says they like your product, they better have tried your product. Otherwise, you may have a false advertising claim. And you need to make disclosures that are fair. I mean, if somebody's in a commercial on TV, it's obvious they got paid. But if they're just making an appearance and they say something about your product, sometimes it's not clear that they were paid. And so those disclosures have there's sort of a balancing standard of what's fair. But if you're not sure, maybe consult an attorney too, because there's just a lot of ways to get in trouble with advertising these days.
So here's an interesting thing that just happened. Friday, I took delivery Friday of this really large cigar humidor through like an interview I did with somebody who's like a real cigar expert, but they heard me talking to him. I think there's the thought that the show has some legs behind it. And so they sent me this 400 count cigar humidor. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I'm going to shoot some video of it and do like a rolling evaluation of it, but I'm no expert. So do I need to disclose right up front that they sent it to me for free? Is it assumed that they did?
In context, you could argue that it's assumed, but just how hard is it to say they sent this to me? How it's such an easy thing for you to do, because by the way, it's not just on them, it's on you and on them in terms of the potential violation. So just go ahead and take that extra step and say they gave this to me.
Suzanne, as a lawyer, are you always thinking, I got to cover my ass no matter what you're doing? Is that like inbred in lawyers?
Yes.
Or can you just live footloose and fancy free?
Well, I'm trying to cover my clients' asses too. So fair enough.
Of course. Look, people are in the instant chat. She's fascinating. What a great guest. And the list goes on.
I can't even see it. I hope it's all nice.
KeepTM.com is the website that you would want to go to. You can talk to Suzanne about trademarking and also copywriting, and or both, depending on if you are trademarkable and you have works of art laying around. You can get all of that taken care of right there. Plus, we have some folks that are affiliated with the show. They're doing business with Suzanne. So this is a good egg right here. By the way, dare I say, Cleveland. That's all you need to know.
Woo!
Top of the food chain. Anything else before I let you go tonight, Suzanne?
No. Thank you so much for your time. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you. There she is, Suzanne Moskowitz of the Moskowitz firm. Yes. And the website, KeepTM.com. We are waiting for Derek Riches to show up, so I would suggest again, if you are somebody that has things that you've been working on, you would like to protect, you've thought about it, you didn't know how to go about it, now we have a friend in this portion of the industry. As we saw right there in the lead of the interview, I have my official certificate trademark for the show, branding. So it is keeptm.com. That's keeptm.com, Suzanne Moskowitz. And she'll take care of you. All right, before we get to Derek, I'll talk to you quickly about Primo Grills. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that they can get really hot for grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking, very important to both professionals and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire and a round ceramic cooker, not overly realistic. Why? Because it's round. Here we go with Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by imagination. Now, what are you saying to me? What about these accessories, Greg? We love accessories with our cookers. Don't worry, they got you all hooked up here. They have the Primo Grill rotisserie. They have the Primo Grill pizza accessory. They have the stainless steel half pan. They have the rib rack where you can put a whole chicken in the middle if you want. The list goes on. Primo Grill's only sold through dealers, so find one near you, primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. Find a dealer near you, get educated, and buy one. Here's the bottom line. The best ceramics in the biz, yes. Patented technology, yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities, I just said that. Multiple sizes, and yes, if you just have to have a round one, they have those as well. As I tell you each and every week, consider the oval. Be a game changer. Be a mold breaker. Who's ready for a Primo? I'm ready for a Primo. Again, primogrill.com, the website. Find a dealer near you. And thank me later. We're back with Derek Riches right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit amazon.com to purchase as well. But I recommend going right to the website, cookinpellets.com, and going from there. I sent CB some dates to get hooked up on a show, but nothing yet. We'll keep going. Many of you loving Suzanne Moskowitz last segment. Brian Cooper weighing in. Greg Rempe and I have the same lawyer. John Paul Bofsky, Suzanne fan forever. Bill Rempe, what a great guest. The list goes on. Let's keep the momentum rolling because it is the fourth Tuesday of the month in the first hour, and that means a visit from Barbecue Central Show guest, Hall of Fame member, and barbecue journalist of Live Fire, Derek Riches. Hey, Derek.
Hey, Greg. How you doing?
I am fabulous and glad to see you again. Had a month off. Did the end of the year treat you just as well as the balance of 2021?
Well, that's not saying much, is it? But no, yeah, it was good. It was nice. It was nice to have some downtime from things.
Did you get any cool barbecue gift? I mean, as a guy who probably gets sent a lot of stuff, you're probably not wanting for much, but did anything pique your interest?
That's actually one of my rules. Don't give me barbecue stuff.
Oh.
You know.
What was the best gift then?
I got a new generator.
Yeah,
my wife got me a generator because
for the winter.
For the winter when the power goes out for a week.
Yes, I heard earlier in the week that Texas power grid was going to be put to the test sooner than later because there was some winter-like weather. Not the 4 feet of snow that dumped on Cleveland here last week, but whatever that means to you.
Yeah, it got down to like 29, I think, one night. Yeah. So, it's been pretty brutal down here.
Mm-hmm. No need for the generator yet?
Not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
good.
So far so good.
All right, so read Derek over at DerekRiches.com, of course, and he's got grill reviews, and he's got breaking news articles and editorial pieces. He's a leading opinion maker here in the live fire industry, like myself. Last week, Derek, we had Dustin Green from Weber on. He's the new Weber grill master. For years, it was Kevin Coleman. Not sure exactly what happened to Kevin Coleman, but now Kevin Coleman's name is Dustin Green. And he appears to be a lot shorter, but very knowledgeable. And we talked on and on about the newest line of Genesis revamps that was coming out. And I don't want you to think that I'm not going to mention it, but a number of weeks ago when Weber was teasing the release of 118, I saw a picture of something. I got really excited because a week before that, Charbroil came out with the thermostatically controlled cruise grill. And publicly, I went out and said, Weber's coming out with a thermostatically controlled grill. You hinted around that I was talking out of school and not knowing much. I wanted to make a large bet. Then quickly I backed down. Didn't come to fruition is what I'm saying in a long, roundabout way. But
yeah, I shouldn't have talked you out of the bet.
I know. You would have been a very richer man than you are now. But they did come out with a revamp of the Genesis line, which I guess for all intents, holding the charcoal aside, this is the flagship product of Weber. Really, a lot of us have some form of Genesis gas grill in our backyard, maybe along with a kettle cooker or some other type of Weber product. So I don't know if you listened to what Dustin had to say, but you've gotten some information on it. So what are your thoughts on the new Genesis line and what's good and what still needs fixing?
Well, I mean, they came out and said this would be the biggest innovation in grilling in the last 15 years, which I thought, okay, so 15 years ago was 2007. That's when they did a redesign of all their gas grills. That redesign was largely cosmetic. They did kind of cut the power and the high temperature output for the grills came down. So, I'm trying to kind of figure out what their level of innovation is. But you saw the hype, you talked to Dustin. What is it you think is the innovation here? What did they just do?
I can tell you what I saw.
Yeah.
It appears that there is a non-optional sear burner installed in every cooker. It appears every cooker now has cabinetry underneath the cart.
Uh-huh.
And it also appears there is a 3-burner model and a 4-burner model, no longer a 2, and no more than 4. And also you have the option of, is it the custom cookware or the custom set? Or you now have access to getting a grill that can accommodate accessories that Weber makes and trying to capture their own little accessory market now.
Right. It's what they call Weber Crafted Outdoor Kitchen Collection.
Weber Crafted, right. And then it can also, you have the iGrill thing or not, the smart accessory or not.
Yeah, you've got the...
But not on the 4. I noticed that. You don't have the smart on the 4-burner, if I remember correctly.
Now you make me look at my notes. There is a SPX 435 for $18.99.
That's a 4-burner?
4-burner smart grill.
All right. Well, good. I'm wrong.
So, right. So, they talked about innovation and it's, they're pushing this whole big thing. And so you're thinking, okay, it's this accessory set. Now, in reality, this accessory set is an expansion of what they used to call the gourmet barbecue system. And that was a small circular piece of the grill grate that could be taken out and you could put in a Dutch oven, you could put in a plancha, you could put in, a number of different accessories that would fit into this little circular piece. Now, with this Weber Crafted Outdoor Kitchen Collection, you can take out a 16 by 16 section of the cooking grate, and you can put in a griddle, you can put in a stone, you can put in a very large, heavy cast iron searing grate. I'm sure more accessories to come. So, you think it's like, okay, this is about accessorization. Weber's been big about accessories for a long time. They said a decade ago that the market, particularly the US market, was about accessories. And so you think you buy a Genesis grill, you now can just go out and get one of these accessories and plop it in your grill, right? I mean, does that not seem logical?
Yep.
Well, the specialized cooking grate, which is known as the Weber Crafted Grill Frame, will come on 4 of the 14 models that will be sold in the United States. And it will come on, I think, 6 of the units that will be sold outside of the United States. So they have different models in different countries. Weber always does that. It gets confusing, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to people who try to keep track of their products. You know, me. So you buy the Genesis and you're thinking, oh, great, I get all these accessories. Now you have to have the specialized frame piece to put in, and that's $170 to $180. And then if you want the griddle, so
just
you can
the framing is an extra $180?
Yes, just the framing.
Wow.
So if you then want the griddle, that's $100. And the cookstone is $100, and the cast iron searing grate is $100. You could buy a $900 Genesis, cheapest model they're going to be offering now, and then spend $1,000 accessorizing it.
Wow.
Right off the bat. But fortunately, you've got places to hang all and put all those accessories into the cabinet, because they spend a lot of time designing the cabinet, so you can hang the cooking grates and the different accessories and put them all inside. So, I mean, this is just, to me, it's a huge upsell thing. It's just, you know, if you want to get a Genesis grill because you want the accessories, because you want to have that, the least expensive model of Genesis is a specialty market, only available in certain locations, and it retails at $1,179. So $280 more than the base model, and you get the $180 accessory unit that goes in it, and then you get to buy the accessories. Has Weber struggled with accessories before, or are they just trying to have a product that is all encompassing? I think that, you know, what they're pushing for is versatility. You know, gas grills have kind of taken it on the chin in the last couple of years because of the explosion of pellet grills. And so, you know, let's build this accessorizable system in here, and then we can just, Father's Day is going to roll around, and we're just going to push out, here's the accessories for that grill you've registered through the iGrill app, and, you know, you've already got your Father's Day list going. But, you know, I mean, if you go out and you look, well, you can get a 16 by 16 pizza stone for $30. You can get a number of griddle accessories that will fit into a gas grill for, you know, for as low as $40.
Can't you get a Blackstone flat top griddle cooker for $300?
Yeah, you can do that too. So, you know, I mean, there's that option.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, I mean,
so where are you sitting on the biggest innovation over the last 15 years? A little sour on that?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, you know, the one thing they did do is that sear burner that has been an option is now going to be standard. It used to be 9,000 BTUs. It's now 13,000 BTUs. So now the Weber Genesis is a powerful grill on 2/3 of the cooking area. The other third, it's still underpowered. It's still a bit weak. But, you know, this is just kind of, again, the demonstration that they consider themselves more a luxury brand than, you know, a general brand for the people who are, you know, going to get that $300 gas grill that has no name at the local big box store.
So who is that
and
lower tier then? If Weber is now fancying themselves a luxury-ish brand, is Char-Broil now the everyman's grill?
Yeah, I mean, Char-Broil still has, you know, units down into the $250, $300 price range. But, you know, more and more, it's just kind of been taken over by no-name store brands. I think that just kind of, there's a lot of cost that's gone into the gas grills, and there's been a lot of kind of inflation in the component pieces, and so it's kind of harder for grill manufacturers to build that cheap grill. I mean, forever we had the cheapest $99 gas grill, and for 20 years that price never changed, and then that's just kind of died away.
Derek Riches joining us here on the show, DerekRiches.com, his website. Transitioning a little bit here, and it seems like we bring Traeger up every time we're visiting on a monthly basis. Derek, Traeger stock is reeling. I'm no stock guy, but I know from a few days into opening at the end of July or whenever it was, or the end of August, it was cresting at 32, and today it closed at $9.61, which is down 4% from yesterday. What the hell is going on over there?
They have not managed to get any excitement. I mean, Weber stock hasn't done quite as bad, but it's
plus $10.
Not doing very well. Yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean, not great, by the way.
Bad. Right. I think that this. What I was thinking about this, and it was like, so Traeger CEO Jeremy Andrus does an interview on CNBC right around the time they do the big, the IPO goes out, stock goes out. And in that interview, I think he said Peloton 7 times. And like, we can be like that. We can be this super lifestyle brand sort of thing. And people will kind of gravitate around us and our accessories and our clothing and our boxed foods that they now ship out and all of those sort of stuff. And I don't know if you've looked at Peloton stock, but it's gone from 160 to 25 in the last year.
They stopped making bikes.
Well, I mean, it just has not been good news for a number of companies, and both Traeger and Weber have had a lot of difficulty getting a positive message out there. When I look at there's forums where the day traders and the stock traders kind of like post memes and smack talk each other and do all this sort of stuff, and they're almost universally, I'll buy Traeger at 8. So
really?
I'm assuming that's where the floor is. Floor is probably
going to go down
8.
Another $1.60.
That's what I would bet on.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gonna invest in it because
are they memeing where it's going to rally
situation.
back to if you buy at 8? Will it see 20 again? Because I'll buy at 8 if it'll go back to 20.
I mean, you get some of these analysts who keep saying the target price is 36, but they've been saying that since the IPO, and they just keep, we still believe in it as a brand, and I'm like, well, yeah, you do that, okay. I don't know what kind of. I mean, Jeremy Andrus actually gave an interview where he said, we are suffering from pretty severe logistical problems, and we're going to do our best to make sure that grills are getting in stores, and that tanked the stock, and it's kind of the last word that the company's put out is we're trying to make sure people can buy our products, and that doesn't exactly inspire confidence.
Derek Riches joining us here on the show. DerekRiches.com is his website. Before I let you go, Derek, how is that complete guide to smoking meat, 100 smoking good recipes for barbecue and more doing?
That's been doing really well. I'm happy with it. I think the publisher's happy with it. So, I mean, publishing is a weird world, and I don't understand the math that they use to figure stuff out. But from everything I've seen, it's done really quite well.
If you haven't,
we've had a lot of good good positive feedback on it.
Well, if you haven't picked up a copy, or your live fire lover didn't get you or gift you a copy this holiday season, take some of those newfound riches from the money that your parents gave you and go buy your copy of Derek Riches' new book, The Complete Guide to Smoking Meats, 100 Smoking Good Recipes for Barbecue and More. Maybe next month we won't have any Traeger topics. However, I will say this, February 8th, locked in, Jeremy Andrus appears on this show. In the first hour, I had to bump Meathead and Dr. Robert Moss off their recurring guest schedule. so I can
Got him
accommodate
for like a
CEO.
whole hour.
I got him for a whole 2 interview segments. So we might talk offline to strategize some pertinent question asking and see how it goes. So, all right. Well, in the meantime, you can find Derek Riches on the fourth Tuesday in the first hour in the second interview segment right here on this show, or in the meantime, DerekRiches.com. Derek, always appreciate the time.
Hey, it's great to be here. And just one small thing on the book, content warning, there is a meatloaf recipe in it. So
no apology
I want people to be
necessary.
prepared.
No apology necessary. Derek, always appreciate the time. Thank you for coming on. There he is. Derek right there. He knew that I was potentially going to be asking him about the Weber apology that I talked about there in the show open. All right, let's talk to you about Green Mountain Grill, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. Just talking to Jason Baker a couple days ago. Things are going well. 2 lines to choose from. Choice line. So if you're looking to save a few bucks, you don't need a lot of the tech or the internal meat probes, things like this. Choice line is the one you want. Daniel Boone is the size. This also accommodates a pizza oven insert if you like pizza ovens and inserts. Then you have a prime line on top of that. A little bit more of a robust build on the chassis. You have a front table to work with. Now you have internal meat probes times 2. Now you have look-in windows on the main cooking chamber and on the pellet hopper. You also have lights inside of the cooker if you want. And Wi-Fi technology. You can open up an app. You can control it right from your app. Pipe the temperature up, pipe it down. Set custom cook cycles, all the fun stuff. Green Mountain Grills, like Primo's, only sold through dealers, so find a dealer near you. GreenMountainGrill.com. That's GreenMountainGrill.com. Go to the dealer that's near you. Talk to the sales guy. He's full of educational knowledge. He will educate you. You'll pick the right size. And when you are headed home, as you're checking out, you'll also pick up a pizza oven insert, because the pizza oven insert can go in the prime line as well. Now you're fully complete. Sauces, rubs, other accoutrements at Green Mountain Grill's website, greenmountaingrill.com. That's greenmountaingrill.com. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We thank Derek Riches for joining us the last segment, as always, the fourth Tuesday of every month in the first hour. This portion brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and Fireboard 2 Pro, and Fireboard Spark. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously, connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via the Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. In summary of Derek's visit, he's a little sour on the Genesis stuff. Doesn't like. These are my feelings on listening to him talk. Isn't overly jazzed that you have to pay $180 to get that extra chassis portion for the custom kit, and then every accessory is $100 plus dollars. So you can get the $900 grill, and then you're in $1,000 of accessories. Accessories is very important. You know, typically with accessories, it's like selling trucks. The money isn't in the truck sales, it's in the parts and service. Similarly on grills, it's not necessarily the grill sale, it's the accessories and all the other stuff. That's where the margin is. Margin isn't necessarily in the grill, it's in the accessories. Read Derek at DerekRiches.com. We're pointing to the second hour where we'll have great takes, and we have the embedded correspondence coming up and all that fun stuff. So stick around, and we'll be right back.